Okay, so I hadn't worked my bike, I haven't rode my bike since July, because I don't know when my legs are going to be good or bad. This morning, my legs were horrible. I didn't even work out this morning. I work out Monday through Friday on a stationary bike and keep the cardio going and all that good stuff. And then I had to do some running around town. Did the running around town, ate a little lunch, and came back, and my legs right now feel wonderful. It's like I have no issue at all. Oh yeah, I had a request. Also, I forgot about this. To make sure ehparts.net was mentioned in my video. I think I mentioned it on all my videos. I'm not positive on it, and I'm pretty sure I put it in the notes attached to each of the videos. I know a lot of people watch the videos on a phone, so you wouldn't see those those written comments. But this is who you got parts to buy. We really want to support old Mike. He's down in Arkansas. He's got a ton of parts, new factory parts. He purchased all the excess parts just recently, about a year ago. And then he got some more after Jamie Jones passed away. ehparts.net, right there. And this is his website. He's had it up for a year. They got clothing, obviously, as you can see. And they've got tons of parts, just all kinds of stuff. And he's coming up with new stuff all the time. So keep that in mind. If you need parts, that's where you want to go. Mike is a heck of a nice guy. I really like him, and his wife Sandy. She's the best. He's come up with developed some new parts and stuff, so it's working out well for him, I hope. And we want to make sure he gets the business, because he's making this his business. This is his job. So this is their income. ehparts.net. And I hope that satisfies Frank. And a goofy thing I do want to talk about real quick. I guess one of my videos, I don't remember which one it was, I didn't have a hat on, and Phil Marks from Pennsylvania commented that I looked like a wild man, and rightly so. My hair is always a mess. I'm not much for haircuts, but I get them. But I always wear a hat because my hair is curly enough that it just goes crazy, and I don't know if this shows it or not, how bad it gets, but so I wear a hat, and then when I don't wear one, it surprises everybody. Alright, I got it up on my lift, and first thing I'm going to do is drain the oil. There's a trick to doing this in the field. It's not a big deal. If you got help, it helps a bunch. It's hard to drain all the oil. I mean, it's hard to keep the oil out of the primary case. But if you got help, all you have to do is tip the bike back this way, so all the oil is out of here and is in the side of the engine case. Being I'm by myself and I got it on the lift, I'm going to actually drain the oil, which is actually more common than doing it the field way, but I just thought I'd let you know there is that option. So, draining the oil. I run little trays under here. They're tool bin trays. It's about the only thing I can get underneath there, especially with this spacer on my lift, but it works. And I usually don't spill much oil, if any. Okay, the 1 inch is undone. Oil looks great. It doesn't even have 1,000 miles on it. It might have 1,000. It ain't much, I know that. And the back one is, I think, 5/8. It is. So to get the foot pad off, grab your favorite Allen head. I use like these long Allen heads. I don't know the size on them. I just fit them. I'm sorry, can't tell you that. The nut on it's a 1/2 inch. There'll be 2 of them underneath there. Done nothing in the shop since my back got to be a problem. I'm kind of out of practice doing anything out here. Dropping everything. We're removing the foot pad, and I'm going to remove this rear shifter just to get some room. That's all I'm doing. I'm going to remove the back shifter. The front one's fine. And I always stick my bolts back in parts I take off. Helps me keep my mind straight. The nuts under there are 7/16, and I got a 7/16 on that. All right, we got the foot pad removed. We got the rear shifter removed. Now I got to take this cover off and disconnect the slave cylinder for clutch. My bike's dirty. It's been sitting here in the garage uncovered since we got back in July. My nephew Devin unloaded it for me because I couldn't even do that at that point. I was really a mess. Still am, but I guess I've kind of adapted to the issues. So there's your slave cylinder. We've got to disconnect that because the clutch is landed against the slave cylinder is mounted against the clutch, and the clutch is mounted on the transmission. So this cover will not come off without disconnecting the clutch. Alright, important thing on this slave cylinder. Yeah, mine leaks a little bit. It's not terrible. I replaced O-rings in it and it still leaks. I'm not sure what the issue is. If it wasn't such a tight ass, I'd probably just buy a new one, but I haven't any other issues. It just weeps every once in a while. You see the slot here, that's made for a screwdriver, and you want to really be careful on prying on this with a screwdriver. So break loose the nut, and then you turn that stud in to the other nut. As you can see, there's another nut in there, And you turn that in all the way so it frees up that nut for you. And it's turning easy, so I don't need to keep that on there. When adjusting, you'll want to pay attention. You don't want to break one side of this slot off. It'll be very inconvenient. You'll be able to do it, but it'll be inconvenient. As you can see, it's just knurled up enough on the ends. I got to use the wrench to get it out the rest of the way. And the amateur drops the screwdriver again. Alright, now the clutch is free. It's going to slide through that slave cylinder. And I got to find a place for these. I guess I'll put them right there. Now, this is a situation here you want to keep in your back of your head. This is sand cast. Outer housing on the case, and they will strip. I have stripped one of these, and my camera keeps flipping down. I'm sorry about that if you missed anything. I'm going to pull these ahead because there's still going to be some oil in there. So I'll be back with you in a minute as soon as I get these guys all loosened up. And I like that. Just a comment to be made. I like it a lot. All right, I got all these guys loose. I'm pretty sure my gasket's going to be junked this time. I salvaged it last time when I made the last video. So in the meantime, I ordered a new primary cover gasket. And Mike's got some really nice ones made up. I don't know who we had make them up, but they're really good. Stand by. So I've got the bolts pulled, and the next step should be is unplug this here connector from the existing voltage regulator. It'll make it a lot easier if you do it now before you get this thing hanging in midair. I also got a wire coming down off of the clutch that I'll run through one of these holes if it doesn't want to settle itself and be nice about it. So I got screwdrivers in the holes. These will fit the hole. What it does, it gives you a little more leverage with your forearms to pull this cover off. This magnet that's buried in here is brutal. You got to really pull on it hard by hand. Obviously you don't want to put I don't know what you would put on there to pull it off. So that's my trick. I have used bolts before and those work well too, but the more leverage you can get, the better it is. Is this thing running? It is. All right, so here we go. There we go. You don't always get all the oil out, that's for sure. Got a big bloosh down there on the floor. I get a little nervous about what's holding me up. Oh, the clutch cable, clutch hose. That'll work right there. And the gasket tore. Which is expected. I'm going to take the rest of it off. Alright, so I had to go find a putty knife because it's stuck on there good. I must have. Alrighty, this thing always drives me crazy because it's in a tight place and it never wants to behave. There we go. That went easy this time. Thank goodness. Alright, get that pulled out. When I reassembled last video, I used silicone grease in there to keep the water out and hopefully it wouldn't get any cross charging. Alright, now I just got to get another T-handle. We got 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a clamp here. I better go get that and show you what the stock one looks like. So I was talking to a shut-off camera. This here clamp is the factory OEM clamp that holds the lead wires to the stator away from this wheel once you land the stator. I never liked this because it's kind of a guessing game when you're putting it back together that the wires weren't rubbing against this. A friend of mine came up with this design. It's aluminum and it works great. I don't have to worry about nothing when I put it back together. I showed it to Mike Seastrom at ehparts.net and he thought it was a pretty good idea himself, so he had some made 3D printed. Currently he's made them out of plastic. I'm not sure if he's going to go further with it or how well they're going to hold under heat or anything, but I think it's a good little idea. I get it off there, I'll show it to you. It's pretty slick, but this doesn't work, at least not very well. I'm being kind of ginger here because right now this whole primary case is hanging off of the hydraulic line for the slave cylinder, which is right here. That's what this is through here. And that's the only thing holding this primary case up. So this is a design by Jim Martinowski, a friend of mine here in town. He does moonlighting and fooling around where he likes to make stuff. And he has a lathe and used to have a, whatever they call a machine. Anyway, as you can see, it comes down in here and holds the wire. Can you see that? Let's get a better light. There we go. This lead comes underneath the stator. And if you put this gizzy on here and it locks in place on this, you can see he's got a flat side on it. It holds the lead away from the wheel when you mount it back in there. It works. I just love it. It works great, very simple. I came up with a whole completely different design and basically over-engineered it. And my buddy Jim came up with this design, and it's wonderful. Alright, now we gotta get these 3 bolts out. And if you're wondering how that all mounts in there, it only mounts one way, I believe, if I remember right. Clocking is important here, but I think it only mounts one way. If not, it ain't hard to figure out. Phew, you guys wouldn't believe how this thing smells. Whoop. Just reeks of hot oil. If you remember when I changed the stator in that last video and then did it on a video, I knew my stator was getting weak. It was coked up pretty good at that time. Not this bad, but it was coked up pretty good. The advantage of the shuntless voltage regulator is it's not running a charge through the lines, through the power, and it's not hitting this stator up. The way our system is designed from the factory, this thing runs wide open throttle all the time. It just does. Whether we use any electricity or everything we can bolt on there, let's say you're bolting on air conditioning unit on there, this runs full time all the time. You can have everything off and the motor running, and it's running full time. All excess electricity via the voltage regulator is then shunted back through the frame, all the steel and stuff, and just comes back through and gets hit again. That creates, in theory, I'm no electrician, I'm no electrical engineer by any means. I finally had it explained to me the first time since I got this bike in 2001 that these run wide open all the time, and that's why they get hot. It has nothing to do with the load that you put on it. So I'm going to put a shuntless on there, which shuts off, creating electricity. Now, I suppose I can put a whole bunch of lights all over this thing, analog lights all over this thing, and it'd probably do the same thing, overloading the stator. But I don't. I run an LED headlight. I got an LED tail light. Eventually I'll have LED turn signals. Minimal. And so I hope I'll have the same kind of luck Frank and John both have had with the shuntless, and this thing I can pull it hopefully in 10,000 miles, and it's going to look like new yet. A new one won't even be black down here. Well, we can look at a new one right over here. See how nice and clean that is? No burn spots. It's just, that's the way it's supposed to look forever, or, you know, life of it, whatever. So, the 3 bolts are out, got them out, and now it just lifts off. And there we are. Oh my gosh, that's the worst one I've ever changed. That stuff just crumbles off of there, and that's called coking. If you hear anybody talking about coked up stator, that's what they're talking about, is all this black on here. Note that the part that's in the oil, which is getting some cooling, isn't as bad, but it is black. There's black in there on both sides, and it's just basically heat. But up here, this sits out of the oil. The oil only runs up about this high. Well, it probably doesn't run that high, because I got the pickup tube down here. But everything in here is flinging oil all the time, so it's getting coated in oil, but not as much on top as it is on the bottom. So that's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and fish this fitting out, because it's stuck back under here and under and around and all kinds of stuff, so I got to fish it out before I can put the new stator back in. So apparently when I spliced this back together, a new end on it, I ran it in a place that I can't get it through. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'll be honest, I'm not even sure where it ran, but I'm gonna run it through when I put the new one in, right along here and up on the inside of this to the connector on the new voltage regulator. Where I got it running right now, it's running underneath the motor and through there, and I can't get that fitting through there. Apparently when I spliced it last time, I didn't route it right, and that's created my own headache. Oh, in hell, huh? For some reason, I hang on to all these old stators, and I'm not sure why. I got a whole pile of them in my parts. I don't know why I do that. Okay, so there we are, 3 wires and the old connector. Look how hot that thing got before. I think if we all switch over to the shuntless, I think our stator issue is going to go away, and that's why I'm doing this. Alright, so I'm trying to get caught up here in my little bitty head. Here's the new stator, and like I said, it only clocks in one way, so we'll get that started. And you know the clocking is because the way the holes are in the stator itself. It's only going to let it go on there one way. You may think you got it, but you won't once you try to put the bolts in. And where did I put those bolts? There we go. Got it. All right, so I'll get the bolts back in there to hold it down. Gotta watch that oil in the primary in case that stuff gets on my fancy new bib overalls. I'll be pissed. Had to look for my fancy clamp. Now, this is where you can take note. This lead right down here, this very point. This is pretty important, and it's hard to determine when this is mounted back in here that this wheel isn't rubbing against this sheath. You don't want it to, so you got to make sure you get there, whether you got the factory clamp or you got this fancy thing that I had made up. It's just really important. If you got this rubbing against the sheath, this goes round and round really fast off the crank, and it'll burn through this sheath in a second, and that's the next thing it's going to do is get into the wires, and it's going to create a problem there. I've heard of guys burning up these leads, this leg of this loom, and not knowing what happened. So we'll get our fancy clamp put on there. So it fits on here, and like I said, I had a special made. It works really good. And this does not move because it's going to sit against this piece right here, this outcropping off of this bolt hole. So you get that on there, and it's holding it down. I can show that to you. See how it's holding it down in a way so this won't rub on it, and that's what this is all about. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal of that than necessary, but to me, in my little bitty head, that's pretty important that I don't know that everybody sees it. There it is. You notice I'm kind of careful about how much I tighten it. I get tired of putting time certs in all the time. See? Right down there, it's a gap between the wheel and that. And there'll even be more once I get this thing landed on the primary case. Well, that's interesting. There we go, nice and tight. All right, so as I pointed out, this is not, it's beyond these, I don't even know what those are called. Those aren't magnets, but they pick up off the magnets. And you can see that lead down there is beyond it. So when this comes in, it's not going to be touching it. Maybe I make, like I said, I make too big a deal about that, but I just don't. Especially at the price of these stators, I just don't feel like doing this again. All right. All right, this part here is a little tricky, especially with this really springy copper. Because you want that piece of rubber to sit inside the primary. Without being real springy. There we go, better. All right, now I got to get that primary gasket that Mike sold me. Nice part about this gasket Mike had designed, it's got steel in it or some kind of metal material. It won't tear. That's the whole magic trick of this whole thing. And makes it nice for taking it off several times. It's pricey, they all are. And it sits on there like that. Now, to keep it held up there good and straight, I'm going to either run some grease or maybe just a wipe of silicone all across it so it stays while I bolt it down. I've had problems down here in the bottom with the gasket slipping up or down and there being a leak. And then have to take it apart, do it again. So Just letting you know that because it's happened to me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. You don't put it on, it's probably going to leak. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just enough to make it fill in a gap when it's pressed in there. By the time I get it mounted, it's going to be kind of tacky, which will be perfect. All right, get some grease. I think I'm going to use grease this time. All you want is that gasket to stick on there. It's all you're doing this for. It's not to stop leaks. It's just to stick while you get the outer primary case back on there. The gasket will take care of all the leaks. I have in the past got away with not putting anything on it, but twice I've had the gasket slip on the bottom and create havoc later. Grease is just tacky enough that it's kind of sticky, obviously, as I wipe it all over myself. Kind of like this gasket. I ain't got it on yet, but what I'm seeing, I like it. It ain't near as flimsy as the factory cardboard ones. Yeah, okay, now that'll keep it from slipping around. Thought I was working with never sees with all the grease I got all over the place. Alright, let's give it a trial run here, see if she's going to go. As you can see, this is not setting in right because there's a memory in that wire, but I think I can get it. My magic trick is to not pinch my fingers.